He is so annoying. Hi everyone, this is CrossFit Dropout Alex. Welcome to the Real Gamerscore podcast. This week I'm joined by very swole Matt. Here at Real Gamerscore, we like to discuss all things Xbox, achievements, and descending into massive sales. This week we talk about rumours from our uncle at Microsoft, prints of perfect Fable placeholders, and taking out half a year's worth of trash. But first, here's the song of the week.
Can keep my games to myself. Think I'll dust them all, put them up on my tag. In case my baby game's all I need. Am I winning out of left field? Ooh, I'm achieving just for kicks now. I've been feeling it this 2006 now. Might be over 1 mil, but I feel it still. Ooh, I'm achieving just for kicks now. I've been feeling it since 2006 now. Might be over 1 mil, but I feel it still. I feel it still. It's probably a bit more recent of a song than I usually do. It's
very pertinent for today, actually, when we get into what we've been playing as well, hey?
Yeah, I was written from recent events.
Yes, very, very nice. Well, there you go. As you've heard, it's just me and Matt today, hanging out with the homies. As Matt just said offline, it is all G in the H, as the kids say these days.
Yep. I mean, allegedly, to be fair, as Alex pointed out, neither of us have spent any time around children. Probably for good reason.
That sounds so bad. I'm about to have a kid in 2 months, and you're like, yeah, good reason.
Yeah, but that's different. That's different. That's if you'll have a good excuse.
Yeah, that's fine. Probably one of the best excuses to hang around with a child is, it being yours. So that's pretty helpful. Well, if we get back on topic, I mean, geez, that must be a record. We're about a minute in and we're off topic. All right, cool. If you know what that song was, you can send your guess for the name and the artist to the Real Gamerscore account on True Achievements. So it's Real Gamerscore with 5 in the place of the S. And you'll get entered into the contest for the Song of the Week competition, and that will get you, I think it's a code. You would think usually, that I would know. I think it's about $10 for a code, isn't it? It really helps when Kirby's here because he can tell us what he gives out. Yeah, and that usually is whatever he has lying around. Yes. But he's got his big boy pants on now. He's testing stuff for coronavirus, testing in the lab. So yeah, doing something like that. I mean, that's what he says he's doing. I don't know if that's actually what he's doing. Well, I mean, he might have got my test that I had yesterday. Actually, probably not. It would have had to go from Victoria to Northern Territory. That's a bit dumb. Yeah. Anyway, you never know. It's fine. We'll just gloss over that. Don't worry about it. We'll edit that part out, which I've heard said many times in the past few weeks because it did not get edited out. Have a guess at that, and maybe next week Kirby will edit in the songs for the past month. Maybe this week. Yeah, we'll draw the winner for next. We'll draw the winner next week. Yes, and have all the great songs that Tarragon and I have been doing. We really should do a duet sometime. Well, I mean, it would be very nice, wouldn't it? But yeah, he can do the audio editing on that, not me. His audio editing, has been very good. But yeah, speaking of contests, we'll also do next week the winner of the random to-do list giveaway. So just a reminder, you can get a list from your random to-do list anytime. Just send a message to the random to-do list account on True Achievements, or you can contact Chin Doctor directly on Discord. The random to-do list is just a list of 25 random achievements from your game collection. It's governed by your game collection on True Achievements, and it kind of helps you with when you're having this issue that I'm having at the moment. I've got 39 games installed on my hard drive, not many, and if any. He's from your country, man. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm definitely down with Scribe. That was in our top 5 hottest 100 for Australia Day for Australian hip hop, despite him obviously not being from Australia. But we lump you guys in with us.
Close enough,
Yeah,
yeah.
we counted that one in. Anyway, yes, so you can still get your answer in for the trivia question that goes along with that. So you need to get one on your random to-do list, which you can't do now because it's the 1st of July as we record. But you can get a new list and get in for your July competition. But the question that was for June was another game published by Cowcat. The prize is Demon Tier Plus. Cowcat actually have some good games. I think there's about 3. Isn't there 3 of them?
Yeah, I think there's maybe 3 or 4, yeah.
I've played 2 of them. One of them was beep. Yeah, no, definitely. I just bit myself out there. Anyway. But yeah, so get in on that. We also have got a new patron as well this month. So Kung Fu Skills. Wow.
Use your words, mate.
Kung Fu Skills. Not Kung Sku Fills. Kung Fu Skills. Really a great username, actually, when you think about it. But they've come on board. So thank you very much for the support. Really appreciate that. And we also obviously appreciate all the patrons that take money out of their wallets and put it into our account. It's very nice. That makes me sound like a massive knob. I
was going to say, Alex, mate, we have almost 100 episodes worth of experience on that already, mate. This is what the podcast is for. It's just everyone sounding like total knob.
Thank you, patrons that do support us. We really appreciate it. If you would like to get in touch with us, the best way is to join the Discord. We talk about it every episode. You know, it's okay if you pause it right now and join us in Discord. You can find the link in your browser, discord.io/realgamerscore. It's all one word. You'll get an invite to come in and join us, say hey. You can have a chat in Cameron's new deals channel that he set up.
Yeah, I've muted that, obviously, because, don't need to listen to that bollocks, but...
He's very excited about getting games from EB Games.
Oh, Cameron loves him a deal. That's for sure. He's a real bargain hunter.
He does. That's true. And he looks at it and he's like, "Oh, that game for $10." And I'm like, "Yeah, I'd pay $2 for that." It's just not. It's not. A lot of the games are not for me. But if anyone
deal, mate. That's
yes.
As long as it's got something percentage off on it, he's interested.
Yeah, it's so funny. Like my wife goes to me, she's like, "Oh, I bought this." It's like all these bags on the bed, and she's like, "Bought all these clothes and that." And I'm like, "How much was all this?" And she's like, "Nah, like I saved like 40%." I'm like, "Nah, but you still spent 60%."
Still spent 60%.
Like, anyway, it's Cameron's like that, but with video games. What's Brad looking for? He's looking for... Is it Tales of Vesperia Deluxe Director's Edition or something?
Definitive edition. The Xbox One version, yeah.
So if anyone in Australia finds that near them, it's about $10 in EB. Get in touch with Brad. What's his username
to be fair,
at
that
the
is
moment?
A really, really good deal. Old Mate Clown.
I was like, Mr. T Clown? I'm like, no, that's Whispering Clown.
Mr. T Clown would have been a better name. He really should change that, actually. That would be fantastic. I mean, it might have some potential, some cancel culture issues there if he decides to go blackface. But
yeah, don't do that, Brad. All right, well, we got a few news articles, so we'll see what we end up talking about. But this first one here I thought was a bit interesting because, we don't really hear too much in the terms of the numbers for the games that go into Game Pass. And, I mean, I don't know about you, Matt, but personally I hope that games that go into Game Pass do pretty well because obviously it means that it makes it easier and more attractive for more games to come into Game Pass.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I think that it's a really interesting system, and I think that I was a bit dubious of it to begin with because I was thinking like, hey, like this is something that people have pitched for years, the Netflix of video games or whatever, however they want to talk about it. But again, it was all about like, how are they going to get buy-in from enough people to actually make it something worthwhile and it doesn't turn into, like a Stadia thing where there's like 10 games on it and no one cares and they're all, trash or from, the 360. So it is good to hear when you get new stuff on there and that people seem to be the developers having a pretty good experience with it for the most part.
Actually makes me think something kind of related. I think that's the way Xbox, at least until they're back on top, which I believe, I've said many times, I believe is just a matter of time. But I think that for the moment, that's the way they have to do things. It's like, we're going to do this thing and we know that it's good as Microsoft, the company, and you kind of have to let the market decide. They're going to put out a very good Series X. But at the moment, all the Sony ponies are like, who cares about teraflops? And it's like, well, if you had the bigger number, you would be caring about it. But I think it needs to go out to market with some games to it, and it's like, just see, and I can hopefully see that it's going to go the way of the Game Pass, which everything I hear about it has been a raging success.
Yeah, agreed. And I think it's been a success on a lot of levels, because obviously you can have it's a lot of parts to it, and one of it being obviously that every first party game comes out day and date on Game Pass. And that's always a big thing. And then you have some of the big developers putting some of their older titles on there, which is good. But I'm glad to see that the indies are getting in there with their ID at Xbox games and that sort of stuff. And they're not just getting thrown on there because they feel like they need to. They're actually getting picked to be on there, and they seem to be doing well for them. Yeah, well, that seems to be the rare thing in the news, but we do kind of see it is that a lot of people come out and say, yeah, you know what, going on Game Pass was good for us. And we made, more money than we thought we would. It's kind of like doing an exclusivity deal with Epic Store, but not feeling quite as slimy afterwards, or slimy at all, really, because I think that a lot of the games that go into there are still allowed on the other platforms. It just it means it's a more attractive proposition for the Xbox gamers, and obviously with the Series X coming out in 3 or 4 months. You get your Series X, you get your 12 months of Game Pass bundled in maybe, and you don't have to worry about what you're going to play. And as we've always said, Game Pass is not really for gamers like us, for the most part. It has bits and pieces in there that interest us, because there are games new stuff that goes straight into Game Pass, or things that it helps highlight games that we might not have seen because we play just about everything. So it works relatively well for us, but even we're not the target demographic even. A lot of it is that entry point of saying, hey, you buy this console, you pay the subscription fee, and you get access to all this stuff, and you just play it whenever you want. And it's you get a month trial of it, you play whatever you want that's on there, and then, you re-up it for $10 or whatever it ends up being, 15. And you also have access to PC stuff. It's a ridiculously good deal for any I'd say it's probably the best jumping off point I've ever seen for a console. It's the easiest buy-in you'll ever have.
Yeah. I guess back on the topic of this article, I suppose the reason we brought it up is the developers of the bicycle game Descenders has said how good it's been for them. They've said that their sales have tripled since its addition to the service, which that's in and of itself a fantastic thing. Because everyone knows, your first week, your first month is when you make most of your sales. And then after that, hopefully people keep buying it, but not everything is a Grand Theft Auto buying, what do they call it, the tail? The buying tail?
Yeah, I was going to say, most games don't have a long tail for the most part. That's part of the reason why games as a service became such a big thing, right? Was that you buy one game and you just keep constantly updating it and just take a bit of money out of everyone every now and then to keep it running and to make a bit of profit. So essentially, it never becomes a tail; it just keeps going.
Yeah, but that sounds pretty good as well, because if their sales have been tripling, I'm sure that there's some money that exchanges hands to get something into Game Pass in the first place. But on top of that, they've been getting triple sales. That's really good news. Apparently, it's about 8th, according to the tweets that they've sent out, it's about 8th most popular on the Game Pass at the moment, which is pretty huge because there are some very big names in there like Red Dead Redemption, No Man's Sky. Just in this picture, there's DayZ, Dead by Daylight, Batman. I think that's Arkham Knight from the picture.
Yeah, Arkham Knight, yep.
There's PES 2020. There's a lot of big games in there, and if they're apparently 8th, that's quite a big deal. But I guess the other thing that makes me happy seeing stuff like this is if a developer puts their first game in and they have a good experience, their second game is probably going to go in as well.
Yeah, no, exactly. Because it's an easy win, and they get that really good. You get that closer relationship working with Microsoft. One of the things that they mention is that it's making people are still buying it even though it's still in Game Pass, And one of the things they bring up is the idea that it's good to be in Game Pass to actually people can play the game, but it also works as a marketing thing because you essentially get a chance for your game to show up above the huge wash of indie titles that are already on the service on the Xbox in general. So if you put out a game in Game Pass, you're going to get way more publicity for it and way more eyeballs on it than you would if you just release the game normally.
Yeah, absolutely. Probably gloss over the rest of the article. It's all gushing about how good Game Pass has been, but yeah, more good news about Game Pass, as if you didn't already know it was an excellent service anyway. The next one, probably heard this name before, Dan McCulloch. I know I've heard it. I couldn't tell you what he does, but I've heard his name. But apparently he spent about 15 years at Microsoft, and he's leaving the company. So, yeah.
Yeah, so he was their head of Xbox Live, basically. So he was in charge of
wow,
that and partnerships and a lot of he did a lot of stuff with the Kinect as well back in the day, and also a little bit of the HoloLens and mixed reality stuff. So like again, he was one of the people who was on the sort of cutting edge of what like Microsoft's like new development and experimental stuff that they were doing. On top of managing sort of, Xbox Live, and again, that was a more recent thing that he was doing. But apparently he's off and onto to new and better things. But if he's moving on from being head of Xbox Live, he's probably going to have something pretty big lined up for him to want to leave that position.
And I guess he leaves it in a pretty good spot as well, because the thing that comes to my mind is like, has there been a more influential technological development than Xbox Live?
The Kinect? Yeah, I know.
The Kinect. I mean, it's probably not the most influential thing that's ever happened to gaming, but it'd have to be up there in probably the top 5, I think, just off the top of my head.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely changed things. I mean, especially for consoles. I mean, PC, you'll argue back and forth whether, they've had things in the past like GameSpy and stuff and things like that. But, yeah, exactly. For console gaming, yeah, Xbox Live was the big time. Like, it was the great unifier, and it was the reason you paid for it over the PlayStation Network was that it actually worked, exactly. And it was well managed and had peer-to-peer stuff, and they had a whole system, whereas the PlayStation 3 was full of hackers and things fell over all the time, and companies pulled out of their servers and just left games dead.
And you lost your credit card details at one time. That apparently that actually happened for Xbox as well.
Oh,
just on a lesser degree. I didn't know that because I was one of the few times I get into the comments on Facebook, and I try to not argue with the Sony ponies because they're totally unreasonable. Whereas I feel like I can look at something and go, okay, it's from PlayStation. I'm not immediately interested in it, but I don't want PlayStation to fail, because if they fail, Xbox, what are they? They don't have the competition.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, and Cameron and I talked about this when we talked about the PlayStation 5 stuff, when they announced that the other week. Like, at the end of the day, these are two giant corporations that don't care about us at all. I mean, if Xbox completely screwed me over one day, I would probably move over to the PlayStation if they had a better offer. I mean, like, again, the more I play on the Xbox and the more invested I am in the ecosystem, the less likely I am to do that, which is what they want. But, tying your identity to a monolithic corporation is never a good idea.
Mm.
And I think some people need to take a step back and kind of think about that. But again, it's something that comes with dealing with the video game industry for years and years and years. You just kind of see the same things over and over and over again. Once you've lived through 2 or 3 console wars, you kind of just see it for what it is, which is just hype and marketing, and we'll see it. I'll judge it when it comes out and not a minute before.
Yeah. Well, I guess the last thing back on this article that I thought was interesting, apparently Xbox Game Pass has reached 10 million subscribers.
Which is pretty good, considering Xbox Live itself is about 90 million.
Mm-hmm.
Again, I don't know how they calculate. Again, Microsoft have moved away from talking about sales numbers of the Xbox stuff and more about these subscriber numbers. Reoccurring revenue, they call it. Which partly is because it's more of their focus. And, as they move to consoles as a service sort of thing with Game Pass and xCloud and making Xbox games playable just about anywhere, But also doesn't hurt that, they're down 3-1 on the PlayStation 4 sales.
Yeah. But that's huge. Like 10 million subscribers. I think it's $10.95 US a month. It's $100 million a month.
Yeah, easy.
It's crazy. And I mean, obviously it's not $100 million a month because people like you and I have done our $1 upgrades, and I think I'm good for another year maybe, because I didn't have the money to smash out all the Xbox Live for 3 years like Kirby did, and he's until 2023 or whatever it bloody is. But
yeah, about the same for me.
Yeah, and that's awesome. But like, that's still good news, because I mean, I don't know what kind of numbers are on that essentially free time, but it couldn't be that many that have.
No, I mean, again, as we always say, we are a subset of a subset, and our experiences are not typical.
It's funny, like we all agree that the Game Pass is not aimed at gamers like us, but we all have a Game Pass subscription. Like,
oh, of course. Like, yeah, I mean, realistically, like it's the best place to play first party stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I think like something like Crackdown 3 was the perfect Game Pass game, something that I would never have bought outright because the game did not justify it, but to play for free for a week, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, we probably won't spend a whole lot of time on this next one, but it's actually something that my wife mentioned to me this week, that she saw this. So I was a bit interested. I don't know if excited is the right word, but apparently long-rumoured Harry Potter RPG reportedly coming to the Xbox Series X. So I reckon it was about 18 months to 2 years ago, maybe. I'm not real good at remembering when things happened a long time ago in the past, but there was that alleged leak from, was it Rocksteady? I can't remember.
WB, Warner Brothers, because they own the rights to it. So they had some sort of leak around a Harry Potter universe RPG, but it was set like in the past. So it didn't have like existing Harry Potter characters, but it was like a early prequel in the same, like a Knights of the Old Republic style. Here's Hogwarts, 100 years before the Harry Potter events and that sort of stuff.
So this is maybe less of a rumor than the rumored RPG, but apparently Jason Schreier from Bloomberg has been running with this story. So a name that, if you've been around gaming for any amount of time, you'll probably know who Jason Schreier is, and you'll attach the appropriate amount of salt to this, whether you think he's the second coming of reporting or not. I think he's all right, but I know a lot of people have a lot of thoughts about him.
From a reporting perspective, he tends to be quite accurate. But I mean, I don't always agree with his personal opinions, but that's true of just about anybody. But hey, it looks. I mean, from all accounts, it looks like he might be on the money with this one.
Yeah. So according to him, 2 people working on the Harry Potter project have confirmed that the game's in development and it's being created by Avalanche Software. Avalanche Software. That name sounds familiar. Did they do Prey?
No, that Avalanche Software did. I had it in my head right now. They did Mad Max, I think.
Okay, I'm gonna look them up, because Mad Max, you reckon? Because I reckon I heard the name before, and I'm like, who are they? Avalanche Studios. Rage 2. Okay.
Oh, actually, no, you don't. Yeah, no. So Avalanche Software is different from Avalanche Studios. Different company.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, we'll see what this actually looks like, but I mean, Avalanche Studios hasn't done really a lot.
What do you mean? They've done a few. Like, clicking on Avalanche Studios, which is apparently not Avalanche Software.
No, so Avalanche Software have done a bunch of movie license games.
Yeah.
So I'll be very interested to see. I mean, I guess this technically falls under that. It is would be a licensed property.
Yep.
But they did all the Disney Infinity stuff. That was their big thing.
They're all right, those games.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'll be interested to see where it shows up, but it doesn't fill me a lot of hope, to be honest.
I'd be interested in it because I know we played the Lego Harry Potter games, but not the other ones. They were the like movie tie-ins, I guess you would call them, like Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, and all those ones. Didn't play those ones, but yeah. Anyway, it's interesting.
The Order of the Phoenix game is still probably the best one. The rest of them are pretty much trash, but that one's pretty good.
Okay, I'll have to see if I can get it. All right. this one's another one, a little rumor, we're not on the hard facts this week because, don't worry about that. But there's some things that are happening on Twitter that people are getting a bit excited about. So there's been some handles that apparently have been reserved in the last 2 or 3 months. So March, May and June, I think it was. So the first two was at Fable. So there's only one follower in this picture. It's titled placeholder. Everything's protected about it. You can't look at it. And the other one is at Perfect Dark Game. The other one I saw that's not actually listed in this article, I don't think, is at Prince of Persia. Which I have said on previous episodes that I would really love a new Prince of Persia game. In the Sands of Time trilogy, that style of game, even a remaster of those three would be very welcome. But if they did like a fourth entry or a reboot or something, that would be pretty cool.
I mean, they technically did do a fourth entry, but...
That Prince of Persia from 2008...
No. They did another one that was set between 1 and 2.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought there was only 3. Okay.
No, because it was on the 360.
Was it?
Yeah, no, it definitely was. I definitely played it. Because I think it was an achievement for lowering the difficulty. Forgotten Sands, it was called.
Oh, that's the one that came out in 2010. That's the 4th entry in that series? That's nothing like
yes.
that game.
Oh, it's pretty similar. I mean, relatively. I mean, I know. Like, again,
it's so different.
Yeah, the combat is, but I guess the idea was supposed to be that it was the same.
Because there was that Prince of Persia game that came out 2 years before that, which again was combat very different.
Yes,
but
with Elika, that game was actually, I really enjoyed that game.
Yeah, me too. That's on my whiteboard for just doing the DLC. So I got the 1001 Light Seeds achievement. It's funny because my friend Dean got 1,000 Light Seeds. He can't get the 1,001st because it's glitched on him.
Oh boy!
So
yeah, that's not.
I take the time to remind him that I've got that. Actually, he's on a mission at the moment. He lost his job because of coronavirus, so he's like, "Oh, I'm just going to finish everything." He finished Super Meat Boy the other day. All of the achievements in that. He finished Street Fighter 2, which I think has an achievement for finishing the entire game without losing a round. He's working on Seriously 1, not the remaster, the normal Gears of War. So he's, I think he finished Bioshock Infinite, that stupid Clash in the Clouds Blue Ribbon achievement.
Oh, that's all I had. That's all I have left to do for the 360 version, and I just can't bring myself to do it.
I think I've got 3 achievements. I've got that and play on hard difficulty. Maybe I've got something else, but yeah, he's on fire. But anyway, good job, Dean, if you're listening. But yeah, so these the thing about these placeholder Twitter accounts is Aaron Greenberg from Xbox has come out and said, we just placehold these. They're not for any upcoming games. Which I look at that and I appreciate that, they come out and try and squash some of the rumours, because if you don't, they have a way of taking a mind of their own. Yeah, it gets just way out of control. But apparently someone who had them was contacted by someone at Xbox. This is not listed in this article. I saw this on Twitter. Someone was like, yeah, I had the handle for it, and a Microsoft employee asked me if I would be prepared to give it up. I don't think they mentioned if any money changed hands or anything, but they gave it up to Microsoft. But the thing is, it says joined March 2020, joined June 2020, joined May 2020. Like, if you renew the handle, does it say that? Because, I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, they said the accounts have been inactive for years, so they might just have been, like, disabled or just... Yeah, I mean, they're placeholders. But the thing is, the only reason that you would renew them and have them show up is to do something with them. So, I mean, sure, they're probably right that it's standard practice. But I think what Aaron Greenberg isn't saying is, but like, he didn't come out and say, there's no new games for those, don't worry about it.
Yeah, it's standard practice for us to hold on to these handles because we've got a Fable and a Perfect Dark game coming, man. Yeah,
exactly. So, I mean, like, I won't get too excited about it because it is still, it does border a little hard on the rumor mill again, Fable has been, the Fable development game has been the worst kept secret.
Absolutely.
For Microsoft for years.
Yes.
I mean, we all know that's what Playground Games is working on.
Yeah, it's funny. For me, those three, I'm like, Fable, I've never played a Fable game, actually. You've got to come clean on that.
Wow.
And Perfect Dark. I mean, after Perfect Dark 0, I'm really not excited for a new Perfect Dark game. And that's the only one I've played. But Prince of Persia, whew, yes. Please do that. It's actually funny in the age of remasters that they haven't remastered it. It's just money. Just money.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing is that, like, because what happened was that Assassin's Creed was originally a Prince of Persia game, right? The first Assassin's Creed back in 2007.
I've heard that rumor, yeah.
So they basically, the entire team got moved on to Assassin's Creed, and then that exploded and became the biggest hit of all time. So they just haven't had the need for it, really. I mean,
yeah, I guess that's fair, but I mean, they've bought 15 studios in the last 3 years. They can give it to someone.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they can not make a Far Cry for a year and maybe do one.
They can not make a Far Cry for the rest of the time and then make a new one. Okay. All right, let's go on to the next one. We'll have a chat about the other worst kept secret, the Xbox Series S, also known as the Lockhart.
Allegedly,
yes. Yeah, like I said, big on the rumors today. Apparently, in a new report from Eurogamer, Microsoft was due to reveal the Xbox Series S, which obviously is a less powerful version of the Series X, in June. Apparently that's been pushed back to August now. So, like I said, take this one with a grain of salt as well. But the only reason I put this news article in is because I kind of wanted to see what your thoughts are, Matt. Do you think it would be better for Microsoft to just go, here's the X, bang? Or just go, here's the X, but if you're hard up for it, here's one that's $150 less. It's still more powerful than the Xbox One X, but less powerful than the Series X. Like a midpoint. What do you think about that?
I mean, I'm of two minds, which I know is a cop out, but I think it comes down to how much the Series X costs.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the same way that, again, we talked about this with the PlayStation 5, if you can come out and say, hey, this console is going to cost you $600 US, which is pretty high, that would make it one of the most expensive consoles ever made. In modern times at least.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you need something to soften the blow, because, and we were theorizing this with the PlayStation, part of the reason they released their discless version is so that it'll be cheaper, but they're probably not planning on selling too many of those. Realistically, they're going to say, you can get a PlayStation 5 for, if it's going to be $500, and that's what you put in all the marketing. You put an asterisk towards the end of it, but realistically, you just put 500 in big letters on all of your banners, and Xbox comes out with 600, and you go, oh wow, looks like it's happened again. PlayStation's undercut them by $100. But then, you go into the store and they say, oh yeah, but that 500 is only for the no disc version. If you want the disc version and all the extras, then you got to buy the $600 version. But at that stage, it's an easy upsell, because it's like, hey, you get all this, that, and the other. So I think it all comes down to price. If the Series X comes out at $600 and the PlayStation is going to be $600, then they might need to have something. Might need to have a cheaper option in there to whet people's appetite to get some doorbuster deals. But from a non-marketing perspective, I think it's a massive mistake. I think introducing a Series S into this environment where people aren't sure, like the people have been so, Microsoft and Sony both have been so hush around pricing, around like game releases, dates, things like that. Like even specs took forever to get out there, and these things are coming out in 3 months, 4 months. If they come out into November, like usually by now, like they'd already done the reveal for this stuff for the last generation. So my worry is that for the average consumer, you say, hey, here is the Xbox Series S, which is a terrible name, and here's the Xbox Series X,
which is also a terrible name.
Yeah, but don't get it confused with the Xbox One or the Xbox One X, which we're still going to be selling, because the games will work on both. Or Microsoft games will be run. You can buy them for either of them for the next year, because they're going to be cross compatible. it's just like, I feel like it's just going to muddy the waters. Like, if they're going to do this, they're going to have some really strong messaging. Like, they're going to have to show them side by side, feature by feature. Like, you need to make it as clear as possible what the big differences is between why you want one, why you want the other. I think you need to have, you need to do a campaign where you say, hey, if you're this type of gamer, would probably go for this, but if you're this type of gamer, then you should go for this. And like, just make it as clear as possible around who is this box for. Don't tell me, you go out there with your teraflops and your compatibility list, and does it have a disk drive, does it have this, that, and the other? No, it doesn't actually matter. What you need to do is tell them, you need to tell the people what box they should buy, and that's it. And because the people like us who actually care about the stuff, we're probably going to buy the top of the line spec anyway, and we'll do all the research ourselves. I mean, don't make it difficult to find out, but you don't need to make it front and center, because then you're just going to confuse people.
Yeah. So when I was thinking about it before, I was thinking, obviously there's pros and cons to both. Like, if you just go, here's the Series X, and that's your only option. Everyone's developing for the high power console. That's always the thing that they say, oh, the last generation's holding this one back. It's like, yeah, okay, mate, all right, whatever. But I think if they did do like a split of the X and the S being released at the same time, it might entice some of those people on Sony. They're going, oh man, Sony's box is $600, but I can get this S for $400 US. And the X is $500. I mean, personally, I think that the PlayStation is going to be more expensive than the Series X. There were those reports going around in the early part of this year talking about how much the internals for the PlayStation 5 cost. So that's part of why I think it's going to be really expensive. Also, it's enormous. Have you seen how big it is?
Yeah, it's huge.
It's like the size almost of an A3 piece of paper.
It's monstrous.
It is.
Yeah.
No one's got a TV unit big enough for that damn thing. But anyway, so I think it will be more expensive. But if it is more expensive, they don't really need it. Like if it's $100 less for a Series X, another $100 to get an S cheaper, like I reckon a lot of those people that would move for $100 less, like you're just going to lose yourself $100.
Yeah.
If it's like 600 for the PlayStation 5, 500 for the X, 400 for the S, I could see it going something like that.
Potentially.
But then, you have all these talk about loss leading, and, given the size of the companies, Microsoft is obviously able to handle a loss lead a lot better than Sony is.
For the most part, although again, it as we always say, it always comes back to the software, right? It comes back to the games, and with COVID and both companies have come out and said, hey, look, we're going to get these consoles will be out on time, and there probably won't be any delays with them. But in terms of actual games for them, in the same way that the movie industry's just been hamstrung, it's like there's been going to be a lot of delays. Stuff's not going to, like a lot of stuff that was going to be late 2020, early 2021 is probably going to get pushed back at least a year. Based on people not being able to build the games for them, and I think that's going to bite. It's going to bite Microsoft pretty hard, because the thing is that their biggest weakness this gen has been that they just haven't had the first party support, and they've spent all this money on studios, but if those studios don't have games ready to go pretty quickly, if the consoles are price comparable, it's going to be a tough sell to get the people over from the PlayStation. I mean, you're right. If it's going to be $100 less, then that'll definitely move some units for sure.
And I reckon that's what Microsoft's doing. I mean, everyone's been saying it anyway, but Microsoft are waiting for Sony to say it's going to be 600, and they're going to go, it's going to be 500.
Exactly.
Because that's what Sony did to them last time. And that's why, like you said, we would have known how much this console is going to cost already. But I don't think we're going to see a price announcement for at least another month, which is
you're probably
stupid. Right. But when you think about why they're doing it, I guess you can kind of see the logic and the sense in it. But, I mean, not knowing how much a console costs 3 months before it comes out, like, you know, it's going to be expensive regardless. 500 US is not an easy amount to just come up with at the drop of a hat. I mean, unless you've been in coronavirus and not going anywhere and saving heaps of money anyway.
Yeah. Or not buying games for a whole year.
Yeah, wow, we found out your strategy, mate. You are getting an exit launch. Nice one. But yeah, you know, I've seen a few people, and like I said, I keep talking about Twitter, but I spend too much time there, honestly. But people are like, how much is this box going to be? Because I need to know how much to save. And it's like,
yeah,
just save up $1,000. I mean, you know, like I know it's not that easy, but just aim to save up $1,000. That way, when it comes out and it's 500 or 600, you've got money to buy. I mean, you wouldn't buy Halo Infinite; you just get Game Pass. But you know what I mean? Like,
but
you could
buy all the
games.
massively overpriced accessories.
Yeah,
and
buy a second controller. When you buy the discless one, you can buy the plug-in USB disc drive. It's, you know,
HD DVD drive. Yeah,
that old chestnut. Anyway, I'm sure it's something that we'll talk about. We don't want to wear the topic out too much, eh?
But I guess we'll find out more about at their next 2020 event, which is taking place this month, and then the big announcement supposed to be in August. So apparently we're going to see Halo Infinite, and then we'll see what else they have to talk about. But that's going to be later this year. I think the next couple of weeks. I think. I don't know if they've announced an official date.
I'm not sure of the date either. Actually, all I know is it's July. But just to touch on your point about the messaging needing to be clear, I feel like for the most part, like I said, Xbox's messaging has been pretty clear. It's just, it could always be clearer, but then they'd have to say some things that they're not ready to say yet.
And that's the thing, right? It's like, how do you when do you pull the trigger? And they got to get those pre-orders up sometime. That's the thing, like, because obviously they need some of that pre-order money to help pay for those loss leading consoles. You know, if you're going to sell, if a console costs $550 to make and you're selling it for $500, then you need to get some early money in. Yep.
And you need to get an idea of, I think one of you said this on one of the recent episodes, you need to get an idea of how many you got to send and where you got to send them.
Exactly. Yeah. So they're playing a bit of a dangerous game. But I'll be interested. Just off the top of your head, who thinks going to pull the trigger first on price? Do you think who's going to blink?
Sony.
Yeah, I would agree.
I think they have to, because all right, let's put it like this: it gets to September, and no one has said the price yet. It's coming out. I don't know the exact date, but what's it? November 5th is the alleged date.
Early November.
Let's just say they both come out in November. 5th of November gets to the 5th of September, and no one has blinked. I think the longer the time goes on, I think it gets worse for Sony. I'm not even really sure if I can articulate why, but I feel like the longer the time goes on, it gets worse for Sony. Because, I mean, I'm not going to buy one at launch, but I am probably going to buy one in the first 12 months, maybe. But I don't know. I just have a feeling that Sony is going to do it, and I think it gets worse for Sony the longer they don't say the price.
Well, I mean, Sony have gone first with a lot of their stuff. I mean, they did come out with that event the other week that just sort of showed off a lot of the, you know, they're pushing the messaging where Microsoft is trying to draw it out a bit longer and do this monthly thing, the monthly 2020 thing. But
a month is a long time at the moment, actually.
Yeah. I mean, time is going fast and also very, very slow.
Yeah. All right.
Anyway, that's probably. I think that's probably enough news for one shot.
Yeah. Cool. All right. So I'll go first with what we've been playing. Coffee Talk. I mean, Cameron talked about this game last week, so I won't try not to tread too much of his ground. But man, I finished it today. I love this game.
It's great, right?
It is so good. It is in like your kind of pixel art style, which is fine. It fits the game. I didn't feel jarred by it. I don't think it would have been improved if it was a FMV game or anything. It was fine. It was good. But man, I really like this game. It handles a lot of really current issues. And I don't think that they could have possibly predicted that when the game was going to release that with obviously with Black Lives Matter, with there's another, I think it's called the Speak Out movement. I'm sorry, the name escapes me. Where there's a lot of women speaking out about men preying on them at like conventions and work related gaming events. So it's it's come at a really, really good time to kind of handle some of those things, because I mean, obviously you have your people like going to dig their heels in and go, "Nah, I don't want to talk about it. I don't care." But at least if you can present this this game, so the way they present it is not. It is kind of handling on racism and discrimination, kind of tropes is not the right word. Topics in a game, but it handles it with fantasy beings like vampires, orcs, elves, succubi, which I'm not even really sure what they are, humans, and actually the one that I forgot is I don't know what they called them, but you can transform into a cat and back to a human figure.
Yeah, Neko or something, right?
Neko Miki or something. Yeah. But they talk a lot about being discriminated against for mermaids. Actually, are in there as well. But there's two characters that, I'm not going to spoil it, but they handle a lot of those really pressing issues. They handle it in a really fun way. Yes, it's a lot of reading, and there's a little bit of gameplay made in between. So you're making coffees and teas and drinks and all that kind of stuff, which is fun. It actually, for a moment, it's like, man, I should buy a coffee shop and get to know people, but I'm like, no, I hate the smell of coffee. I hate the taste of coffee. I hate people that act like, I've got to be careful not to say words that will get beeped, but you know what I mean? And people, I think, do that in a coffee shop, and that's not what this game shows. But it is a heavy text-based game, like I said, so if that's not your kind of thing, you might not like it. But it was Games with Gold. Give it a go. I really enjoyed my time. I really, really liked this game. I gave it a 4 out of 5 on True Achievements. I'm thinking maybe I should give it a 4.5. But, yeah, really, really good game. I also played the new DLC for Tracks, the train set game. There's a guide up on True Achievements. Bill Zuminati's done it. It took me about 40 minutes to do it, but you could do it in half that time, and I was just messing around. It's 500 Gamerscore as well. So it's pretty juicy. Okay, Braid. Braid's another one I played. I've had this game for about 3 years. I just never played it. And obviously, if you know anything about Braid, you know it's well received. Have you played it, Matt?
Yes, it was back in the day. I used to get $20 a week from my pocket money. This is taking me way back. And so what I used to do is I'd go out and buy whatever the new exciting Xbox Live Arcade game was. So Braid was one of the Live Arcade ones that was being, I think it was part of the Summer of Arcade, one of those. Yeah. So I played it when it came out, and man, that is an interesting game. Yeah, that's really the word that I feel to describe it as well. I think it came out around 2007, something like that. It's quite an old game now. It doesn't really look it. I mean, it is Xbox 360 graphics, but for the graphic type that they've selected, it looks just fine. I'm kind of torn on it because I'm not sure. Like the ending, I won't spoil the ending, but I'm not sure if it's great or if it's kind of like it's showing its age and it's a bit ham-fisted. I'm really not sure. It's I guess it's up to interpretation. I think I think ham-fisted is probably the correct way. It's a bit up itself. Again, Jonathan Blow, the guy who created it, who also created The Witness, he basically equated it to the second coming of Jesus. Not in as many words, but he basically thinks it's like it's definitely not that. He was wrong about his own game then. Yeah, I mean, look, it has a lot of interesting themes in it, and story wise, there's the story it tells, and there's the undercurrent of another story, and again, a lot of it's allegorical. There's some stuff in there about the atom bomb that's really weird and interesting. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff in there that you're just like, is this game about what I think it's about? And the answer is probably no. Yeah, but in terms of the mechanics of the game, they're quite well done. Some of the
the levels just melt my brain. Because I'm like, I don't understand. Like that, there's a level, I think about halfway through the game, where when you pick up the key, it behaves really strangely. And like it drops through the floor and sometimes goes up, and it's almost like the key's running away from you. I don't even really know how I finished that level. And I was watching along with a guide, and I'm trying to do what they're doing, and the key is moving away from me. I'm like, I don't understand what the bloody is happening here, mate. The only achievement I've got left is the speed run. So it's 45 minutes from start to finish in that. Do you have the speed run?
I very much do not.
Yeah.
The average speed run time for the game is 42 minutes.
Okay.
So it is really tight.
Yeah.
And the game's all about time travel and rewinding stuff, but if you rewind too much, you just run out of time.
Yeah.
So you need to be, it's really tough. I've tried it a couple of times and not gotten very far. One of these days I'll probably go back to it, but it is one of the toughest achievements probably on my tag.
I think if I am going to go for it, I think I will go for it. I think it'll be one of those things that I'll have to spend a few days on. Like have a run, on Monday, if I don't get it, or if I think I've cooked it, go and do something else. Coming back on Tuesday, and so on, until I eventually get it. Because I read all the comments on the top solution, and there were people were like posting their attempt times, and it's like try 1 60 minutes, try 250, try 3 45:05, this kind of stuff. There's a guy that's like 45:01. Yes, really, I did get that. The thing that I think will trip me up is not really understanding how some of the levels work, like that key one that I mentioned. If I can get through those, then I think I can get through the rest of them pretty straightforward. But yeah, some of them I'm just like, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to luck it out at times.
Yeah, there is definitely an element of that when you're playing through it. I remember struggling with a lot of it and just try to understand how all the mechanics work, because they throw new mechanics into each of the worlds, so you have to keep those in mind.
Yeah. All right, well, that's enough about Braid. It's next one, big one. I've been working on the last few weeks on Plague Inc. So for those that don't know, there's 184 achievements in Plague Inc., and I've got 181. I'm left with the so-called Big Three. So for those that don't know, obviously Plague Inc., it's about infecting the world with all different plagues, but the Big Three is for finishing 3 of the tougher scenarios in the game with every plague on at least normal difficulty and getting a rating of 3 stars or 3 biohazards for each plague. There's 11 of them. So for the 3 achievements, you have to get like a very good score of 33 different times.
Ooh, that's a lot of plaguing.
The ratio is between 10 and 13 for each of those achievements, so they're not messing around. There's one person on my friends list, Proteum, I think it is, who's got all the achievements in the game, and there's like another 5 to 10 after that that've got everything bar these 3. I've really enjoyed my time with the game up until this point. I haven't been too screwed by the RNG gods. These achievements seem like where people get screwed the most. You need to get 65,000 points, you get 64. It's so tight. It's worse than Braid's bloody speedrun. So I'm going to have a go at them. I think if I do it, I would do, like, say, one particular plague, I don't know, the Nurax worm. Do that on, scenario 1, scenario 2, scenario 3, because, I know how it all kind of works. Then go back and do another one like the Prion and go kind of do it that way. But the Shadow Plague with the vampires is meant to be one of the toughest. That and this stupid simian flu. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. The last one, the big one I wanted to talk about. So Life is Strange 2, it's come out of Game Pass. Probably by the time you're hearing this, it's gone. Have you played Life is Strange 2?
Yep.
Finished it all?
Yep.
Okay. It's a weird game to kind of say if you like it or not. Because I heard the guys from New Game Plus talking about this, specifically about The Last of Us 2. It's not a game that you would say you enjoy playing.
No, I would agree.
Partly, I would say for Life is Strange 2, partly because of the gameplay, and partly because the content of the game, I think, is there to make you feel uncomfortable about certain social issues.
Sure. I mean, it definitely has things to say.
Yes. That doesn't mean that it is not an enjoyable experience, but I wouldn't say that I had a super amount of fun in playing this game.
Yeah, I mean, how was... Did you feel that way about the first game? Because, I mean, because the first game definitely had some social stuff in it, too.
Yeah, not like this, though.
Yeah, no, definitely
I don't know. I think, even though it hasn't been that long since I played the first one, I have thought about this. But I think I look back at it through rose-coloured glasses. I really liked it. I don't know why I related so well to a 17 or 18-year-old girl. But I related really well to her, you know, going to uni, doing all the stuff that she was doing. I don't know. I just really related to it. Having a great friend that you would literally let the world burn for.
Yeah. I guess maybe it's a more relatable scenario to more people. I mean, because I felt that way too. Like, I think that the first game, from both a thematic and from a narrative and from a structure point of view, is heads and shoulders above the second game. I mean, like, I think the second game has a lot more to say.
Yes.
Whether it says it well or not, I guess, is up to interpretation. But yeah, I don't know. From a game, I didn't really enjoy Life is Strange 2 basically at all. I thought it was interesting and it had some interesting ideas, but from actually playing through it and the story and the choices, it just kind of felt like it felt kind of meaningless and not that interesting.
See, it's funny. Like, we kind of have a similar thought on the issues of the game, but I'm the opposite. I really enjoyed my time with the game. Even being as uncomfortable about the themes as I was. I think maybe the differentiation between the first and second game in there is there's not that many... Yes, the first game has a lot to say, but they're different issues.
Oh, for sure.
You know, and in the second game, it is a lot about racism. I mean, I'm a white man. Everyone knows this. It's going to be hard for me to relate to racism because, I mean, apart from getting called a cracker by black people, like what racism do I experience?
We don't have that sort of cultural perspective because we just can't.
Yeah, but having said that, I mean, I enjoyed it for a different reason. It's kind of like putting myself in the shoes of these kids. So for those that haven't played it, you play as Sean, who's brother to Daniel. You're both Mexican. Your dad's obviously Mexican. Your mum doesn't show up in the game. I'm going to spoil the very first chapter because there's a lot of... The very first chapter, it goes for about 15 minutes. Like, if you want to skip ahead 30, 45 seconds, I'm going to just say 2 sentences about it. But there's a lot of people talking about kind of get woke, go broke. I think that's a bit of a cop-out. In the very first chapter, the brothers, they live next door to a redneck, and they get in a fight with him. Someone calls the cops, and your dad gets shot by a white cop. Like I said, mum's out of the picture. But I don't really know how to process that because, I mean, I'm a white person. You know, but
yeah.
Like I said, I enjoy putting myself in the shoes of these, these kids and kind of trying to experience it. I don't know if this is making me sound like a massive knobhead, but I can't go out of my house and experience racism to try and better my understanding of it. And there's a video game here that is, you know, trying to portray that kind of experience.
Providing some perspective, I suppose, is probably the way to say it, right? Like, they give you some insight into how it might be. Again, you know, I'm not going to say, hey, this is how it would go, or this is that, because, I mean, again, it's still a video game, it's still a fictional narrative. Things, they still ratchet up tension, and, I mean, like, I won't get into, like, but the fourth chapter is absolutely ridiculous.
The fourth chapter? Like, they just... Is that the one when they're leaving the farm? Was it after the farm? No, that's the commune.
Oh, yeah. With the church. Like, it's like, it was like almost straight out of a Nicolas Cage movie level of ridiculousness.
It was, it stands out against the other 4 chapters. Yeah. I guess the other thing that I found quite difficult is Daniel is a massive... Okay? And I don't know if I want to write that time down because I said a swear, but I cannot put it any other way. He is so annoying.
Yeah, no, he's awful.
And,
I hate him.
You know, that I guess part of that role is it's being a little brother. That's what you are. But I look at this and go, you know what? You're the older brother. You are the father figure now, and you need to deal with that. And in 2 months' time, I'm going to have a child of my own. And I don't know, maybe I'll be thinking the same thing. Man, this child is a massive, you know. And they're saying things that just get on my nerves and then making me just get real angry and trying to, during the game, do the right thing in the face of going, you know what, you got yourself into this situation, Daniel. It's because of you. You made a decision. Now you can go and sort yourself out, mate. That's why I really wanted to choose those options, but I'm like, I can't do that.
Yeah.
You know, there's in chapter 2, I think it's chapter 2 where you find the abandoned house in the snow.
Yeah.
How do I say this without spoiling it?
You're talking about the bit with the dog?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, there's one option. I'm like, yeah, no, rip it, man.
Yeah, but I was...
I'm like,
yeah,
no,
like,
that's the wrong option.
That's absolutely not, yeah.
Yes. But anyway, so I guess it's good in that regards because I'm kind of experiencing all this stuff that I haven't really experienced before. It is very difficult in this game when you... I think it's probably fair to say that for the most part I dislike Daniel as a character. I think
that was might have been the hardest thing for me too, was that Daniel as a character I just absolutely hated, and kind of... I mean, Alison was sitting next to me when I played through it, and she was like, just leave the kid on the side of the road. Just leave him. Don't worry about it. Just leave him. He's fine. Just get rid of him. He's useless. He's the worst.
Yes.
Why are you trying to help him?
Yeah. But to kind of take that step back and go, okay, he's my responsibility. You know, you have to make the right decision. And yeah, that touched on that kind of trope for me. But I played it with my wife. She enjoyed the game. I enjoyed the game. I mean, it sounds like I've been talking negative about it. It is a game that's meant to make you feel uncomfortable about social issues. And I think it does that quite effectively. Anyway, play the game. Still worth buying if you didn't get it in Game Pass or if you need to finish off the last couple of chapters. Gamerscore for this week, 2,670. So,
not bad.
Not bad, but not super good. But you have a lot of games to talk about.
Yeah, which I won't talk about all of them. I wasn't here last week, but as people on my friend feed might have known, I went a bit nuts over the last week or two.
I see 2 excellent games in your list of things to talk about.
Yeah, some great stuff. So I played. So I got my monthly summary. Actually, I'll just pull it up while I'm here.
Were you number 1 on your leaderboard?
I definitely was. Yes,
I would think so.
I played 74 games over this month and last month, and I completed 68 of them. So, the majority of those were absolute trash, 1 to 2 hour completions from Radalaika and the likes. Like a lot of them. But there were some diamonds in the rough that I also did play. But again, sorry, I should say that those 60 games or so, 50 or 60 games I played, was just over the last week. I didn't start this till the 25th, I think, or whatever it was.
Yes, you've been a frequent flyer in my news feed on True Achievements.
Yeah, I figured I should clear out some trash. But I'll talk about some of the stuff that I did find quite interesting. So I played The Complex, which is the latest F&V game from Wales Interactive.
I've been looking at this one.
Yeah, it's a lot more. It's a lot more of a slightly interactive movie than something like Late Shift. So Late Shift had a little bit, Late Shift had a beginning, middle, and end, but again, it had some slightly different ways of approaching scenarios. Whereas this tends to be a very, like, your choices don't matter that much for most of the stuff, it looks like, unfortunately. They have a lot of endings, but the endings are all very, like, there's only really there's only two real types of ending depending on a major decision that you make towards the end. And then just variations on how you've been treating people through that playthrough to change up some slight aspects of it. But realistically, there's basically only really two main endings. It was like, from a narrative thing, it was quite interesting. But you also felt like they had a story to tell and it got there really quickly and kind of glossed over a lot of stuff. Which, again, you know, you've got actors working in sets. Like, essentially, they run it like a movie. So there's only so much they can do. But it's relatively quick and easy. You get it done maybe 3 or 4 hours. I'd recommend it. I also played Donut County, which is a hilarious game that everyone should play. It would be perfect in Game Pass. I think it really needs to get added to that. It's a short, maybe 2-3 hour completion, where you essentially control you're a raccoon who controls a giant hole in the ground, and you basically just move the hole around, swallowing things up. And as you swallow things up, your hole gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you just swallow more things. And like, so you basically, someone orders a donut, so you send a donut around to the house, but the donut is just the hole in the ground, and you move it with a remote control, like an RC car. And you start with, like, you know, blades of grass and geckos and you know, rocks and stuff, and suddenly the hole just gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and you hear people screaming and running. Like, it's got that Katamari feeling of just enjoying just demolishing huge swaths of land and just engulfing entire houses into a giant sinkhole.
I think it was when I saw this in my newsfeed, because you were playing it, that I actually clicked on to see some clips for the first time. I'm like, I watched a 30-second clip. I'm like, yeah, man, this game looks awesome.
It's hilarious. It has really great sense of humor as well. I would definitely, like, it's not very long. It's pretty easy for the most part. I mean, you can follow the guide on TA to get some of the missable stuff, but you can always go back and replay levels. And it's just absolutely hilarious, and I had a great time with it. I've been wanting to play for ages. I also played Return of the Obra Dinn, finally.
You were looking forward to that one, I remember you saying.
Yeah. So, that game's great. Again, it's a bit of a mind bender. You have to sit there with a pad and pen and try and work out stuff. The interface is not quite as user friendly as I would have liked, because basically the whole thing of the game is there's a ship that has returned or has been found after the crew has been, you know, like, the crew sailed out with it and it just went missing, and no one has any idea where it was, but it's suddenly shown up again. And so the insurance company who insured the boat is like, hey, can you go and try and figure out what the hell happened? Because we need to know how much we need to pay these people based on what happened to the crew. Like, did they go missing? Did they die? You know, do they owe us money for damaging the goods? Like, what happened to the boat? What happened to the people on it? What happened to the cargo? So you basically go there with this magical stopwatch and your book that has pictures of the crew, a list of the manifest of everyone who was on the ship, and a few other bits of useful information about the crew, like their name and where they're from. And you basically go around with the stopwatch, and anytime you find a corpse, you can use the stopwatch on it to see that corpse's last moments. So you can see how they died, and there's like a small snippet of conversation. So you watch how they die, you get to see their body of how they died, and also the people around them who were in the scenario. So you walk around a bit and you say, okay, there were 10 people here, we're in this part of the ship, they're talking about this. This guy has this kind of accent, so he might be one of these nationalities, and we're in this part of the ship, so maybe he's a midshipman. So I'll put this guy down as a maybe was this guy. And so the idea is you want to try and identify who's in each scene so you can figure out what happened to them.
That sounds a bit like The Invisible Hours.
It is very much like that, yeah. But again, in that same sort of way, it's told in a non-traditional format in terms of narrative, in terms that, like, you discover the bodies as you discover them, and they just fill in parts of the chapters of what happened on this boat. Which, spoilers, it went through hell. Like, some crazy stuff happened on this boat. Like, you start off you start with chapter, like, the end, which is like chapter 10, and you work your way back. I think the second one I found was like chapter 3, and then there was like chapter 5, and then I found chapter 1. And so, as you find bodies, as you find like a skeleton, you check them, And then when you see the scene, if you see anyone else dead in the scene, the watch will lead you to a ghost version of that corpse. So, like you say, if there was someone had like fallen, like there was, spoilers. There's one person who was crushed by a cargo lift. So they were trying to drop cargo into the boat, and he got it fell, and he was underneath it, and he died. So it was pretty horrific. But there was also someone else who was sick, who died of some disease, who was in a similar scene, but he was in the same area. So, but obviously his body had been thrown overboard or moved or whatever. But it basically took me to where that body was, so I could see his last moments. And then so you just kind of work backwards, trying to figure out how these people tie together and what happened to them, and try and piece the whole narrative. It is a lot of going back, listening to, okay, I think this is this person. I can match. I can see the picture of them. Because there's a drawing that has pretty much every crew member on it, and you can say, okay, this person looks like this person, and this person died this way, but who are they? And you need to go through the manifest and say, okay, they're in this part of the ship. One guy said, hey Charlie, so maybe his name's Charlie, but say, is he Charles in the manifest? And yeah, again, he's in this part of the ship, so maybe he's a cannoneer, or maybe he's the cook, or so again, you have to go through it a lot, and every 3 that you get correct, it basically ticks them off and says, hey, yep, got those, don't worry about them, we'll mark those as complete. But every time you do that, you don't know if you've got it right till you've got 3 right, and then it will tell you. So you can put in whatever you want. So like there's an achievement for blaming everything on the captain and getting every cause of death completely wrong. So the guide basically says, hey, with this one, just find all the locations and all the people and just mark them all as killed by an axe by the captain. to basically get the worst ending. And it's like, yeah, like it's 100% wrong. Captain basically didn't have anything to do with it, but you just say, yeah, and so the achievement's called like the captain did it or whatever. So like again, you can mess it up pretty badly if you don't know what you're doing. But I would highly recommend it. It's like you can play through with a guide and just kind of experience the story, but a big part of it is trying to figure it out and having the cork board with the red lines, being like, okay, this guy was here and he was here, and he was also in this scene, which means he was alive here, which means he might be this guy, but this guy was dead, so it's definitely not him. There's a lot to it, but I would highly, highly recommend it. What else have I played? I also played Apocalypsis, the Tree of Knowledge of Good and Evil, which is a very long title. Okay. It's a point-and-click puzzle adventure. With some of them with very weird art style. So I don't know, Alex, have you ever seen those old medieval style maps where, like, on the map it was like, oh, it's the ocean, but like someone's gone and like drawn like some really messed up looking like sea leviathan dragon in it, and like there's all kinds of like people have like drawn weird mythical stuff on the maps because they just didn't know what was out there, right? And they were like, don't go out there, it's dangerous. Basically, the whole game is that art style. Like, someone has drawn this game like it's some sort of mythical horror about a guy whose love was basically thought to be a witch and killed. So he's basically going on a quest. He's doing the whole Odysseus quest to go basically to the underworld to try and save her. It's all very messed up, like weird. It reminds me, I don't know if anyone's played what is that? Rusty Lake Hotel, and like the Rusty Lake series are a similar point and click adventure which has a lot of weird messed up you're like ripping limbs off things to use them for other stuff, and like there's a lot of body horror and strange creatures, and using sharpened bones to dig your way through stuff, and
I've never heard of that series.
Really, Rusty Lake is really interesting. The guy who makes it just keeps bringing out new stuff that it's like an anthology, so it all takes place from different perspectives of different part in the same sort of shared universe. I think most of them they started off as like Flash games, so I would highly recommend them. But yeah, this is very similar to that. Pretty like it's not terribly difficult. Some of the achievements are a little bit annoying. You have to get like puzzles right on your first try and that sort of stuff. So make sure you check the guides for those because there are a few missables. But you can replay most of the levels, so it's not too bad. And then it also comes included with there's basically the main part of the game is him trying to get to the end of the world. But there are also two other sort of like mini scenarios that are like 15. Well, one of them's like 5-10 minutes long. The other one's like maybe 15-20 minutes for the other achievements. So as a complete package, you probably get done with it maybe 3-4 hours.
Okay.
I'll also just quickly run through. We also finished up Dead Island Riptide Definitive Edition. Finally done. That game is trash. I don't. It's terrible. It's so buggy. It's so bad, Alex. How can you? Oh boy.
I think for me, I've said this about Dead Island. I know that me liking them is not what not everyone likes them. That's fine. Everyone else experienced a lot of bugs. I didn't really. Definitely fair to say I experienced more bugs in Riptide. And Riptide is objectively nowhere near as good a game as Dead Island.
I will give you that.
That is I think that's just a fact.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I just love running around in the Dead Island world with a katana and just, off with your head type of thing. It never gets old for me.
I think if the zombies were a little easier to kill and didn't hit so hard, I would probably agree. Like if the zombies were more like Dead Rising, where it's like you just like 1 or 2 swipes and they're done. Like a lot of these guys are super powered up because the game scales with you.
Yes.
You never actually feel like you're making real progress. And I think that's my big problem with scaling games in general, is that you just feel like you're on the treadmill. It's like, oh, well, I'm level 50 now, but it doesn't matter because the zombies are level 52. Like, I have a couple of new skills, but it still takes 3 hits to kill them like it used to. Again, weapon levels help with that. And as we got further, the big problem we had early on was that we were just dying constantly because we brought level 50 characters in, but you don't get to bring your weapons from the last game. So you're just basically hitting them with blow-up bats. As we got towards the end of the game,
in the start of the game, actually.
Yeah, as we got towards the end of the game, you get a few mods for some good weapons. That it becomes a lot easier. Getting to level 70 was a bit of a drag, but we got there in the end. But I mean, hey, we're done with it. To be fair, we had a good time for the most part.
And now you want to play the Japan one with me, yeah?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, we'll see about that.
I've got someone that does want to play it, so if you want to come along for the ride.
I mean, if I had the Japanese copy, I probably would play it. But
actually, I think Tarragon got me. Yeah, Tarragon lent me that one with his Japan 360. So
right.
I bought Dead Island myself, but he's got he had Riptide.
Gotcha. And then just quickly, I've been playing Hotel Transylvania 3, which I've been meaning to play for ages. That game's Pikmin. It's 100% Pikmin. Not even
Pikmin, but I've seen it. I think.
Okay, have you played Overlord?
Nah.
Okay, so basically the whole game is you play as a character. The character themselves can't do very much, but you can summon minions to do all your stuff for you.
I've seen the Pikmin being thrown around. They're like little bean sprouts type of things.
Yeah, basically, and they come in different colors, and the different colors have different abilities. So, like in Pikmin, it was like the blue ones can go in water, the red ones can deal with hot environments, and the yellow ones can jump and stuff. So you need to pick the right amount of colors for the right scenario for what you want to do. But this game is the same thing. Is you have a 10-minute time limit, and you go on an island, and you have a bunch of things that you can summon, and as you get through the game, there's 4 types that you get. You start off with 1, and as you save your friends, you get a new one, and they all have different abilities. You fight off giant crabs. There was an achievement for getting one while it's stunned. I think it was called Massive Damage, or Attack Its Weak Spot for Massive Damage. Some quality 2005, 2006 memes.
Nice.
Yeah, it's Pikmin. I was like, oh, it'll probably be some sort of terrible 3D platformer like a bunch of these movie license games are. But I was not expecting this at all. I'm actually having a surprisingly good time with it. It's not the controls definitely aren't as tight, and your guys die really fast. Half the time they won't listen to you. So a lot of it is trying to throw them at an enemy and then quickly call them back before the enemy attacks, and then throw them again. But half the time they're like, no, it's fine. I'll just stand here. Don't worry about it, and then just get swiped.
I don't know why, but I just thought of Ash and his Charizard from Pokemon. Half the time it just doesn't listen.
Yeah, it just doesn't listen. It's like, whatever, it's fine. But yeah, so I'm about halfway through that game. I'll put a few more hours into it. It's not very long, but there are quite a few collectibles. and you are on a time limit for each of the nights. But you can do as many nights as you want, but essentially you only have 10 minutes each segment. And then the creme de la creme, I've been playing My Horse and Me Too.
Yes, I wanted to talk about this game. How good is this game?
Yeah, it's actually it's pretty bad. It's pretty awful. It's a shocker. Thanks, one Chin Doctor for sending that to me.
Did he post it to you?
Oh, he did. Yeah, absolutely.
It must be the one that he posted to me as well. What a champ.
Yeah, he was like, hey, guess what, buddy? You got a game for your 1.4 million to do. And because I hit 1.4 million this week, as we'll talk about the milestones, but finally got there and decided that My Horse and Me Too was the game that needed to be to get me over the line. So I hit it on the dot.
Correct.
And now so it counts. So I didn't have to start all over again.
That's right. And just on that, Kirby having a go at me last week. Oh, if you don't hit on the dot, yeah, mate. If you don't hit on the dot, it doesn't count.
Yeah, it's 100%. Yeah, if you don't hit on the dot, no, you're done.
Yes,
you're done. You better just start again.
And just in case you weren't sure, last week when he checked with me, and that voice came on, that wasn't me. But yeah, everyone already knew that. Obviously.
Yeah, but no, that game's awful. But you know, I named my horse Bojack. After my favorite horse. This horse was slightly less of an alcoholic than Bojack. But
right, I was thinking, why does Bojack sound familiar? He's one of the ads that flashes up when Netflix goes to standby. Yeah,
gotcha. Yeah, BoJack Horseman is a fantastic show, and everyone should watch it. But watch it in limited doses because it gets a little too real sometimes. But yeah, that game was terrible. And the worst thing is you have to play through it twice, which is just unforgivable.
Yeah,
I can't believe they were like, yeah, just do 2 playthroughs, don't stack the achievements.
Was this the game where you name your horse Blue Jeans, or was that Miley
No,
Cyrus?
that's Hannah Montana. Yeah. I mean, like the default name for the thing was Starlight. I think was the default name for the horse. So my 2 playthroughs with Emma and Emma 2. I was going to go with Emma 2.0 and do some sort of Terminator thing, but I was like, this game doesn't deserve that. No, absolutely not. I should not be putting any effort into this. I did laugh at the walkthrough. The walkthrough claims that the uncle has a moustache and is potentially a pedophile. It was like the walkthrough had some interesting takes on the quality of the video game itself.
The funny thing that I always found about this game is the walkthrough. I'm just going to read the first paragraph to you. Just remember, if starting the game right now or maybe soon, it is not too late. You can turn back before you unlock an achievement and delete the game off your games played this. This is probably one of the worst games ever on the Xbox 360, which is probably why it wasn't released in North America. Actually, it might be the worst game on the 360. This guide is for people who do not heed my warning. If you're looking for a game to ride a horse in, let me show you another game that isn't My Horse and Me Too. And they link you to Hannah Montana the movie.
Yeah.
Which, again, is not a great game, but they're saying it's worse than that. So, and the title of the next part is, So You Didn't Listen, Did You?
Yeah, so it was entertaining. The game itself was trash, but, you know, at least got a couple of chuckles out of the actual writing.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that puts me at a... I'm just going to combine my 2 weeks because I wasn't here last week, so that puts me at around 60,000 achievements or so, 60,000 Gamerscore for the last week or two.
It's just ridiculous, mate.
I mean, to be fair, I usually get 100,000 a year, so my 13-year anniversary with Xbox is coming up next week.
Wow.
So, yep, 7th of the 7th of the 7th is when I earned my first achievement. So I've been doing this for a long time.
I started in 2005 when it came out. I didn't even know what achievements were. And you've got nearly 4 times what I've got. You're crazy, man.
Little bit. But yeah, so it's been a busy couple of weeks, and it'll probably be a few more busy ones as I just try to do more cleanup. The one thing I just started today actually was Time Spinner because it's coming off of Game Pass on PC.
Oh yeah.
I'll just say it's a side-scrolling game, side-scrolling Metroidvania, basically stolen whole cloth from Symphony of the Night, Castlevania. if you like that kind of game, you'll like this, except it has like time travel stuff in it. So go for it. It's a pretty short game. You got to do 2 playthroughs, but it has a new game plus. I'm about halfway through my first playthrough, having a really good time with it. But anyway, I've said way too much. Let's move on.
All right. So, if I'm not mistaken, the next thing we talk about is sales, games of gold, and all this kind of stuff.
Yep.
So the new games of gold are up in typical games of gold fashion, like the day after recording last week, pretty much.
Yep.
Xbox One, WRC 8, World Rally Championship. Don't ask Chin what that stands for, because he doesn't know.
Nah.
1st of July to the 31st of July. Then Dunk Lords, 16th of July till the 15th of August. Dunk Lords looks interesting.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think. Yeah, maybe. Xbox 360, Saints Row 2, 1st to the 15th. And then Juju from the 16th to the 31st. So I can get rid of my Saints Row 2 disc, so that's good news. There's an article on TA saying there's a few games leaving Game Pass. Blazing Chrome, Dead Rising 4, Time Spinner, like you said, and Unavowed.
Yeah, so I think most of those are for PC Game Pass.
Yeah, Time Spinner and Unavowed are definitely from PC.
Yeah, although you can Time Spinners play anywhere, so I'm playing it on the 360. But yeah,
on the 360.
Oh, sorry, on the Xbox One.
I was going to say, play anywhere on the 360. Mate, it was ahead of its time. All right, so you've noted a few Gamerscore games here. What do you got?
Yeah, so Abzu is 65% off, $6.99. It's a 2 or 3 hour completion, nice and easy.
Nice relaxing game.
Yeah, no, it's very, very chill.
One achievement for hitting the pools of fish in the whirlpool sections.
You'd be fine.
I got it first time, but that's the only real pressure thing that you got to worry about.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, as long as you know what you're looking at, you'll be all right. Black Mirror, 75% off, $9.99. It's a point-and-click adventure with some interesting. It's not related to the TV series or anything. It's set, I think, in Ireland or Scotland. I'm going to get crucified for not knowing. Oh no, it says Ken a lot, so he's probably Scottish.
I'm just leaving you to sink your own ship here, mate.
Yeah, it's fine.
Just
You know what? No, it's fine. Build the wall. Yeah, so it's really easy for the most part. There's only a couple of missables. You follow a guide, you'll be fine. Get Even, 75% off, $7.49. Slightly longer. It's a first-person shooter/puzzle game. Some really interesting sort of story mechanics around going into people's memories and like experiencing their stuff to learn things.
It always goes on sale for $7.50 as well. Every time.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's a pretty good price. I would definitely pick it up. Newt 1 I did a few weeks back, 40% off, $5.99. It's a really easy platformer. Sea of Solitude, 60% off, $7.99. I think it's also an EA Access. It's one of those EA originals. It's a 4 or 5 hour game, pretty easy. It's a sort of third person puzzle platformer. Pretty heavy on the puzzling, not so heavy on the platforming. But there are a lot of collectibles to get, and it has some sort of open world stuff. So make sure you follow a guide because it's quite easy to miss things. And then also Selma and the Wisp, 90% off for 99 cents. This was one of the 60 games that I finished. It's a 1 to 2 hour completion. You basically have a wisp and you have this person, Selma, and you basically, wherever you go with the wisp, she follows. So you need to try to lead her through sort of traps and puzzles and that sort of stuff. It's a little unpolished, and it's a little bit of a mess, but it's easy enough.
So what do you recommend people would pick up this week?
So on top of those games, I would also recommend the Little Nightmares Complete Edition. So Little Nightmares is a Limbo-esque style 2/3D side-scrolling platformer with some scary elements in it. 75% off, $7.49. Only one sort of challenging achievement is the hardcore one, which you can save scum if you know how to do it. It's you have to finish the game without dying under a certain time limit, I think, but it's not too difficult. There are a couple of cheap deaths in there, but the game itself has got a really sort of interesting narrative that leaves you thinking, theorizing over what's this, what's that, how did this happen, who's doing this, what's the whole backstory. It also has a very sort of Spirited Away feel to it in it as well, with a lot of sort of weird monstrosities or creatures that are just not of this world.
Okay. Well, I reckon people should pick up... I mean, it's easy for me to say I think Dead Island was in there, but I'm like, no. I said when I was going to do my recommendations, I'll try and recommend something different each time. So, Dying Light. Obviously,
so
very
Dead
different.
Island
No, it's very different. There's parkour in it, okay? It's different.
Oh, okay, yeah. Zombie parkour.
Yeah. It's 33% off, $13.39 for the base game. The season pass is also on sale for $11.99. That's 60% off. Don't need to ask you what your potential purchases are, because I assume you're still on year-long ban.
Yeah, pretty much. I did cave a little bit, and I picked up Risk of Rain 1 and 2 for last week to play with Brad and Kirby and Cameron, just because I'm sucker for peer pressure, and I'm that's the next game that potentially want to move on to, that and potentially Strange Brigade. So I'm just grabbing a few there. But in terms of stuff that I'm going to play for myself, nothing at the moment.
I was going to say, it's going to be a while before we get to Zombie Vikings, isn't it?
Yeah, probably.
That's all right. I just popped the first achievement because it was on my war boats. Well, it wasn't the first achievement. I made it the first achievement. I'm pretty sure it was a miss as well. Anyway, I bought Selma and the Wisp. I'm 3 or 4 chapters into it. It's a bit rough, yeah. But it's okay. So far, it doesn't seem to have a story to it. Does it have a story?
Not really.
Okay, it just makes you feel bad when the girl dies on the screens. Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Fair enough. I thought it was. I thought if there was going to be a story, it'd be there by the 4th chapter, and it's not. So.
There's only 10 chapters, so there's not much time.
Exactly. All right, so milestones this week. Big week of milestones.
Yeah, lots going on. So achievements 1, we've had the Natalator.
Natolinator?
Latolinator?
I think it's the Natolinator.
The Natolinator. 9,000 achievements 1. Whispering Clown, 13,000 achievements 1. Kushmoose, 16,000. What the Fug, also 16,000.
Do we have to bip that? That sounded very...
It's fine. It's fine. Black Buff, 17,000. Space is the Grave, 19,000. And Neomaster with 50,000. You
just have to blow someone out of the water.
Yeah. Speaking of which, Gamerscore, Hack and Pone has reached 100,000. Tony Coconuts has reached 150,000. Philip Wendell has reached 300,000. Shadowless Edge, don't know who that is, 400,000.
According to Kirby, Shadowless Edge is still roughly 300,000 Gamerscore pleb.
Ah, okay.
Right. If anything to go by on his last week, Gamerscore maths, quick maths.
Yeah, quick
because
maths.
I'm a 300,000 Gamerscore pleb and I'm nearly at
That's
500.
Right.
So I mean, I guess Shadow is a 250 odd thousand Gamerscore pleb. Good maths, Kirby.
Those are some real quick maths.
Yeah.
And then Neomaster again, streaking to the top of the leaderboards with 1,400,000 Gamerscore.
1,400,000 Gamerscore.
Sure. Yeah. 1,400.
Sure,
yeah, there you go.
Why not?
Yeah. 1.4 million. Probably won't be seeing numbers like that for a little while again. At least, probably not this year, at least. TA score, we've got Fight Club. Not XLAX Fight Club, unfortunately. 300,000. Homer. Wait, really? Got the gamer tag Homer? That's pretty good.
Yeah.
400,000
and
TA.
it's not with numbers after it either. It's
wow.
Homer.
That's all right. Friend of the show, Valak C, has reached 700,000 TA score. And Waka Pale has reached 1.5 million TA score.
Wow. Philip Wendell has reached 500 games played, and Ghostly Shinobi also 500 games played. P-Tart TX, 500 completed games. Do you know she has a competitive Gamerscore goal up against me to overtake me?
Really? What's she at?
She's about 50,000 behind me.
Oh, well, you're in trouble, mate.
It's been like that for about 9 months.
It's going to be pretty.
It's going to be pretty. Actually, she's at about 43%. But as soon as she got to 43%, she hasn't really called me up too much. But anyway, I've still got lots of rad like her. I want to say in the bank, but it's probably more appropriate to say in the bin to bust out if she starts getting
in the
closer.
trash pile.
Yeah. Salzbar, completion percentage of 94%. Hello, Salzbar, if you're listening. I'll see you on Saturday morning, my time, for more Kane and Lynch boosting.
Oh, nice, mate. Yeah, I hit 94% last week. It's a tough one.
Yes. I think I'm about to hit 94% anyway. I might check that in a second. But Thrash Forever, 2,500 achievement win streak. Ahazo is now in the top 200 of Arizona achievement completion percentage leaderboard. Ghostly Shinobi is now in the top 500 England Gamerscore leaderboard. Ahazo popped back again to hop in the top 20 of the Arizona Gamerscore leaderboard. Very nice. Jay Black. Could make a funny Jay Black cuckoo or something, after it, because like we normally do. But top 10 of Nova Scotia True Achievement leaderboard for action adventure. Say that 5 times fast. Kingsman 2625 is now in the top 10 of Washington Gamerscore leaderboard. And Valak C, top 10 of the Portugal True Achievement leaderboard.
Yeah, I think you mean discount Spain.
Well, Valak C popped by again just to get a TA ratio of 1.8 as well, so that's pretty nice.
Yeah, pretty sure that's him going down though, right? From playing too much trash.
I don't know, is it? Is he the one that said he wanted to have a 2.0 achievement? Ratio?
2.0 would be ridiculous. He plays he completed over 100 games over the last 3 months.
Wow.
He's crazy. But most of that is he played more trash than I did, and that's saying something.
I remember the first time he came into our community and he was talking about Shadow Warrior 2. About how that stupid 10,000 orb achievement. I'm like, yeah, it's not that bad. Nah, it is though.
It's that bad.
It's that bad. I'm at 94.23. I found out the other day, actually, my percentages are about 150 achievements.
But you're also a high completion percentage. You haven't got a lot of games to pull from.
Well, in 118 more achievements, well, that's how many I need to get 95%. It doesn't include new games, but that's when I'm turning to the pure settings. Or the correct settings, as you guys say. Settings. I don't think I'm going to drop down too much because I've been on... Part of what I've been doing is doing a DLC completion binge.
It's the way to go.
So, won't be too much of a drop, but...
Yeah, it's about 550, 560 achievements per percentage point for me.
Boy, that's a bit. All right, well, if you're still here with us, thank you for listening. We appreciate it. We've come to pretty much the end of episode 97. If you want to get in touch with us, you can always shoot us an email, like our friend Isaac does, hello@realgamerscore.com. You can find our Twitter handle, @realgamerscore. You can say hello to Cameron. No private messages lately.
No, I guess Trimmy's been on holiday or something.
Trimmy's been busy. He's been trying to hunt down a turkey for early Thanksgiving. Oh, no, that was dumb. I just thought of it. Anyway,
4th of July is probably more appropriate. It's coming up.
If I was American, I would be remiss in my duties as an American to forget that, but obviously I'm not. So, once again, you can come join us in Discord, discord.io/realgamerscore, and you can find our Patreon page at patreon.com/realgamerscore. If you're interested in being in the show, let me know. We'll have a chat. See if we can get you on. You can subscribe to us, please, on iTunes or whatever podcast platform that you listen. You can leave us a review. Tell us that you leave us a review so we can read it out on the show, because like Kirby said, our aggregator went in the bin a little while ago. Tell your friends about us. Actually, Mad Rocketansky, who joined our community, is from the Kane and Lynch boosting sessions that I do on Saturday morning. I think he sent me a text message as we started recording. All I've seen is, how do I join? I think it says, how do I join the Discord?
If you listen to the podcast, you probably should know, but hey.
One of the funniest things you guys said recently is make the sessions, you have to write something in, and you have to answer what is the song from the most recent episode.
Yeah, the most recent episode. Yeah, that's the way to go. It's just to check if they're really onto it.
That's so good. But like I said, write us a review, helps us out, and we would like to read it out on the show, especially if you say nice stuff. If you say rude stuff, we might not, but retweet us on Twitter, subscribe to us on all the platforms you can. Now, Matt, today is an odd episode.
Yeah,
how do people get you?
I mean, if they get me, they're going to get done, because I'm not, if you find me, no one's ever going to find you, buddy. That's what I'm saying. You know what I mean? I'm not saying. I'm just saying. Neomaster on everything.
Oh, man. I played indoor cricket for the first time in 3 months yesterday, and my whole body is sore. Laughing actually really hurts my chest, but I still couldn't hold it in. Oh, man. And if you want to find me, you can find me, well, not on Mixer anymore. You can find me on Twitter, on Xbox, and True Achievements, ProfessorPluto, and Twitch, ProfessorPluto1. Hey, maybe I'll be able to get Professor Pluto now. Who knows? Anyway, that's the end of episode 97. Thanks everyone that stopped by. We'll catch you all in episode 98.